spy isn't as glamorous as I thought. But it isn't dull.
Good evening, everybody.
Yep. Hey.
Welcome to another episode of Critique Corner with me, Daniel Parker.
And me, DB Fastbinder.
And if you're new to the show, welcome. If you watched us before, welcome back. So if you're new, what we do is we always start off with our thing of the week, where we talk about whatever it is that we've been consuming, whether it be a movie, TV show, video game, manga, comic book, whatever. And then we move on to the topics. So for this week, with my thing of the week, I rewatched a classic horror film from the 1980s, Poltergeist. It's a haunted house movie in the suburbs, which usually don't really, when you think of a ghost or haunted house type of movie, you usually think, something in the like Victorian era or some.
Right. It's like, why are all the ghosts from like the 19th century?
Yeah, and they're always inhabiting Gothic manors. But but for this movie, it's suburbia in 1982. It's so it centers on the Freeling family.
Okay, I hate to cut you off there, but I just noticed this. 42, is that a goddamn reference to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Maybe.
Sorry. Now I gotta see which one came first, but please continue.
Yes. So it centers on the Freeling family. You've got Dad Steve, Mom Diane. Dad's played by Craig T. Nelson. Most people remember him from Coach, and he was also the voice of Mr. Incredible in The Incredibles. And then Diane is played by Jo Beth Williams, and I think she's been in a lot of different like TV shows and movies and such. Total, well, I probably shouldn't say it, but she's very easy on the eyes. Let me just put it that way. And then you've got their three kids, Dana, who's played by Dominique Dunn, and then their son Robbie, and I can't remember the name of the actor who plays him, and then their daughter Carol Ann is played by Heather O'Rourke, and that's the girl you see in the poster. And basically, what it is the planned community that they live in was actually built on a cemetery, and the people, the haunting of the bodies that are underneath underneath the ground have decided to haunt this family in particular, and you really don't find out why they've chosen this family or they've chosen Carol Ann until the second movie. But so what happens is they start seeing all this weird stuff happening. Like they're in the kitchen, and the mom notices like all the chairs in the kitchen, or like the kitchen table. They're all up on the table, and then there's a spot where they stand on the floor and then they slide across, and she thinks it's like kind of fun and everything. And of course, Craig T. Nelson, Stevie's just a little freaked out by it, like, oh, okay, what's going on here? And although I should probably mention the beginning of the movie. The first time I watched it kind of threw me off because they start playing the Star Spangled Banner, at the beginning of the movie, and I'm sitting there going, "Why are they playing the Star Spangled Banner?" And it's because in the '80s, when late at night when TV stations sign off, they'd play the Star Spangled Banner, and they'd say, "Oh, this concludes our broadcast day," and then that's when it shuts off, and then goes to the snowy picture.
Back before they realized that lonely people, the unemployed, alcoholics, lots of people can watch TV at all times of the day and night.
Yes, exactly. And so when that happens, that's when Carol Ann goes downstairs and she's looking at the TV, and she's acting like she's talking to somebody, and she's talking to the spirits on the other side, and so what ends up happening is they end up pulling her into the other side, and the family has to figure out how to get her back, and so they bring in these Ghostbusters.
Not the Ghostbusters, but people who simply bust ghosts.
Yes, and they're of course just completely in over their heads because they're not used to dealing with this level of haunting, and so then they bring in the Tangina is her name, played by Zelda Rubinstein, and she's the dwarf little person with the really high voice. And so long story short, lots of hijinks ensue and everything. It's of course it's got the famous line, where Carol Ann says, "They're here."
Oh, is that what that's from?
That's what that's from, yeah. And although and then Tangina, hers was "This house is clean." But my favorite line is at the end of the movie with Craig T. Nelson, where he's yelling at his boss, and he's like, "You moved the headstones, but you left the bodies. You only moved the headstones."
Oh man, so that's Poltergeist. That's that one Simpsons one where the house was Vader's voice actor, and at the end he decided he'd rather not exist than deal with the Simpsons, right?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
it gets swallowed up, yeah. Yeah, and there's even a scene in that episode where like they look in the basement and like all the stuff's flying around. That's in the movie, and where like the kid's bedroom, all the stuff's flying around. And I will say, most of the effects hold up pretty well, except for that scene. They look horribly dated. But I mean, this is I would say a pretty safe, scary movie because it is rated PG. Despite despite the scene where the guy's peeling his face off, but I mean, it's because it's you could probably watch it with your kids, and that's actually I think the reason they made it. I mean, it was produced by Steven Spielberg, and it was directed by Tobe Hooper. Most people don't know Tobe Hooper for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, well, okay, that's an interesting combination.
Yeah, and actually, well, and actually, Spielberg liked Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and that's why he hired Tobe Hooper to direct this movie.
And that movie, I remember I did not get past the first scene just because like they had this like overwhelming aura of unpleasantness about it.
Yeah, there's definitely that, and it was also filmed with that like docudrama style, which just made it really unsettling. But this movie has that kind of like Spielberg feel to it, and the reason for that is because and this may or may not be true. I don't think it is, but there's this myth or legend going around that Steven Spielberg ghost directed this movie because he was on the set of the movie for a lot of the shoot because he was filming E.T. at the same time, and it was not in the shooting where they were shooting E.T. wasn't too far from where they were filming this, and so a lot of people said Tobe Hooper was director in name only, but I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think Spielberg probably had a lot of creative input, but this is Tobe Hooper's movie. And one last thing I do want to mention with this is there is a quote unquote curse associated with this movie and with the franchise, mainly because a lot of the people who some of the people who were in these movies passed away, in some cases rather untimely and bad ways. So, like, for example, Dominique Dunn, who played the teenage daughter, she was brutally murdered by her boyfriend.
Oof.
Yeah, and she was only 22. Uh, and and then Heather O'Rourke, who's the Carol Ann, the little girl, she passed away when they were making the third movie. She died of a bowel obstruction, which was caused by a birth defect. And the really bad part of that was that they thought that she had Crohn's disease. And
so they were mistreating her the whole time.
yeah, and
Ugh.
yeah, but yeah, and then they also had there was a couple other actors too, like Will Sampson, who was the Native American shaman in the second movie. He passed away not long after that movie came out. And then another actor who was he was the mild some spoilers here, but the big bad guy in this movie, you don't know who he is. You don't find out who he is until the second movie. And the actor who played him his name was Julian Beck, and he at the time they were making the movie, he was deathly ill with cancer, and and you could see he had a very gaunt appearance. He was really skinny, and I think he passed away not long after they wrapped up the movie. But it, whether or not there's a curse, I don't think there is. It's just,
random happenstance.
Random happenstance, yeah. So
speaking of things that might be random happenstance, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the book, did come out in 1979, so it's conceivably possible it was a reference.
That could, it could be, that could be a reference. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, if give this movie a watch, it's on Shudder right now, and it may be on HBO Max. I'm not sure. It was before, but yeah. So,
all right. So horror is my bag, but that sounds like it might be tame enough for my tastes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So my thing is completely different.
Yes.
So on Game Pass this week, I tried out, and I wrote this down so I would have it, Taiko no Tatsujin the Drum Master, which is a game I had seen people talk about and play for years in advance, but I'd always thought, okay, how could this possibly be fun? It's basically just Guitar Hero, but you only have 2 buttons. Because like so I'm playing on my Xbox controller, so it's like there's like the red and the blue, and the red is the actual don don of the drum, and then it's like you're hitting the rim for tick tick for the blue ones. And it's like zooming past you.
Oh,
and it actually turned out to be pretty fun. They have a lot of J-pop music, a lot of which I actually knew because weeb anyway. But they had anime themes from anime that like they did a pretty good job picking things out that Westerners would typically know. It's like Dragon Ball theme, Naruto themes, One Piece themes, just generally popular things. There's more songs available to download. It can get kind of intense, especially at the higher difficulties, and you find yourself saying, "I swear I hit that twice. Shut up! You just didn't register it. Stop cheating me out of my victories."
Yes.
It's got a lot of trippy visuals, and I shouldn't say trippy. It's very Japanese culturally focused visuals that I don't understand. Like, like everything here. Like, I think that bell is supposed to be like something from a shrine. If memory serves, I have no idea what this anglerfish in the 19th century swimsuit is. That kid's holding up an urchin. A lot of weird imagery, and it gets weirder the higher your combo gets. And right now it's actually available on Xbox Game Pass, which is where I decided to try it. And if you're like me and you go for the Xbox rewards for this week you have to get 3 achievements, hold off on this game until that week comes around again, because you can get 5 achievements, like 5 micro achievements in 10 minutes just by playing the game a little bit.
Okay.
So they give them out like they're candy, at least at first. So made getting my combo this week much easier. But it's just generally a good time. It's also available on PC, Switch, and PS4. Actually, Xbox is the one platform where they don't have a unique controller for it, which is just like a little. It's like a Guitar Hero drum, but it's like just one drum. So it comes with a couple of drumsticks. My guess is that this was them testing out the water. Probably part of why it's on Game Pass is that we did our thing a few weeks back where Xbox actually outsold PlayStation for a month because of their cheap Series S consoles. So that's probably Microsoft on their end going in and going, hey, we kind of want to attract Japanese sales and be more weeb friendly. So let's, we'll grease your palms, Namco. Bring it to Xbox this time.
Yes.
But overall, recommend. And this is a long-standing series going back to. I saw games on it for PlayStation 2. It's also an arcade game. So no matter what you own at home, you probably have a way of playing it.
Yeah. So it's kind of like is it kind of like Guitar Hero with an Xbox controller?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. It's and so it's like it's only 2 options, but they're just coming so fast at times that it's very much tests your sense of rhythm.
Yeah. I have to confess, I tried to play Guitar Hero and I couldn't do it. I was not quick enough.
This might be simpler and not simpler at the same time. I could not. I would say that it's on the easier difficulties. It's simpler than Guitar Hero because again, you are kind of managing 2 commands basically. But if I ever see an arcade again anywhere, hopefully they have a copy of this because I'd have some fun with that.
Yeah. I miss the old days of arcades.
Me too. But hey, speaking of things that are out of time,
yes,
it's Morbid time. Daniel, we prepared a clip that basically sums up the situation.
Yeah. Let me pull that up here. All right. Make sure I'm okay. Audio shared, and go full screen, and here we go.
Done lights. Thank you. Morbius watch along. No. That's what they want. Maybe we're all being, manipulated by the internet, to try to watch. They want us. They're brainwashing us to watch Morbius. You guys are falling for the trick. I'm gonna do a Morbius watch along. There you go. The algorithm told you Morbius is good. Morbius was written by an AI. Morbius was written by an algorithm. Don't ask me how I got that information. I just know. Soon the whole world will be morbid out. Yeah, they already morbid out yesterday. I saw KFC, they posted a tweet that was like, it's Morbin time. Yay, thank you. You're one of the earliest to morb. That's right, we made history here. We made Morbstory. Morbin's not real, it's all in your head.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah. I was actually very curious, and pardon this message here. One of my USB devices likes to misbehave on me. It's this. I've narrowed it down to. I think you can still hear me, right?
Yeah, I can still hear.
Okay, I narrowed it down to being my USB splitter causing the problem. It just periodically freaks out. Anyway, hey D Rhino.
Hey D Rhino.
So D Rhino, I want you to guess before I pull up the actual box office charts. How many more billion do you think that they made in theaters last week? Give us the Morber Munder.
Morber Munder. Let's see. Billion, I would say probably well under a billion.
Yep.
I'd probably say like
No, it absolutely did not. No.
Not even close.
So measured in millions of dollars, Morbius so basically what happened was Morbius became such a meme online that they decided to it'd been slowly trending down. I think last weekend it made about $20,000 at like a handful of probably those last chance cheap theaters, the ones.
Yeah.
But Sony said, "Oh, people are talking about Morbius. Well, we kind of lost money on that movie, so let's go ahead and we'll put in another 1,000 theaters. So let's see how it actually did." So here's the trend line that our friends at the numbers put together based on initial weekend, and you'll notice the movie just kind of dies an immediate death.
Yes.
You also notice that you don't see an appreciable uptick for last weekend.
No.
Because last weekend, after it increased, it was better. It was like about 10 times as much as the previous weekend, but about $310,000. So in millions of dollars, 0.31.
Oh.
Average per theater over the course of the weekend, $300. So that probably means that if you were waiting to hear him say the famous line, "It's Morbin time," you were probably sitting in the theater by yourself, being disappointed, or maybe your one Zoomer friend was with you.
Yes.
And I thought, okay, maybe it's doing better during the week. No, it absolutely is not. It has not beaten $60,000 any of these weekdays.
Oh.
I strongly suspect it may have cost Sony more money to rent these theaters again than they actually made in box office.
Oh Lord.
I cannot confirm this because I don't know how much it costs to rent 1,000 movie theaters. But if you take $300,000, divide it by 1,000, that's $300. I have to imagine it costs more than $300 to rent a movie theater for a weekend.
Yeah. I would say that's probably true. Yeah, and
The movie was so bad that they were trying to give me posters just so they could get rid of the useless paper. So I think the lesson we have learned once again that various movie studios refuse to learn is that Twitter has no impact on anything whatsoever when it comes to making money.
Yes. And memes do not sell tickets.
Yes. I should say Twitter can hurt your sales if they spread, rumors about you or there's a controversy, but Twitter never seems to help you because I'm going to just be brutally honest here. People who spend all day on Twitter, it's not like you have like glory hounds who might have a productive job like Elon Musk or other executives and actors. Then you have the same sort of people who were what I was talking about before: alcoholics, the unemployed, desperately lonely people, students with easy degrees that don't require a lot of math, so you have a lot of time between classes instead of homework.
Yes.
Like these are not people who have huge amounts of money, and besides, even if they did, guess what? They figured out how to have entertainment for free by spending all day shit posting on Twitter.
Yeah.
They don't actually go see movies because their entertainment is the shit posting.
Yes.
And as somebody put it, Morbius has made history by being the first Marvel movie to bomb twice in theaters. Like look at these numbers. Like 80, like for Friday night, $85 a theater. If you take the average ticket price these days is something, I think I saw the average was like $13, which is kind of ridiculous anyway. But But that means that on average, 6 people per, and that's not per showing. That's per screen.
Oh,
so mathematically, there were some empty screens, and the odds of actually be there with another person were pretty low for that Friday night.
Yeah, especially when you have better options like Top Gun Maverick or
even Doctor Strange would probably be a better option.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, holy crap! So
yes,
a tale in two charts. So this is the numbers. What they basically do is they take the first opening weekend and they do a projection of what they expect the box office to actually be based on. They basically have like an algorithm they can plug that into, just to see based on past performance of movies. And usually once you have 2 weeks, you've basically figured out the upper and lower limits for a movie. if you have the right numbers. You notice that Top Gun is exceeding its most generous projections based on that first weekend.
Yes.
And like it's a rare movie. It's actually audiences and critics both like it.
Oh.
And this is people at the water cooler going, "Hey, have you seen that new Top Gun movie?" No, I haven't. Is it good? Oh, it's great. Yeah, I'll go with you again. I can't wait to get back.
Yeah.
And at least domestically, it is now overtaken Doctor Strange at the same time in its release. Because Doctor Strange is the opposite. Doctor Strange is, and it's basically WandaVision 2. What, seriously? Well, does Tom Cruise show up as Iron Man? No, Tom Cruise does not show up as Iron Man. Oh, is Deadpool in, like I heard? No. Oh, is Mr. Fantastic in it? Yeah, but they kind of kill him off in an embarrassing way. He doesn't do anything. Oh, who's the main? Who's this America Chavez? Yeah, she got stung by a bee and then killed her parents, who are two moms. Oh.
Oh, okay.
So by this point, Doctor Strange could have been making domestically between 450 and 670 million. Inside is not cracked 400, which I remember at my time I was like, yeah, billion dollars. Oh wait, no, probably 1.1 billion.
Yeah.
I probably should have just stuck with the billion.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to die quite like this.
Yeah. It's like you were saying. I mean, word of mouth started getting out, and I would say that was probably the case with me. When I started hearing more and more about it, I'm like, I think I'll wait until June 22nd when it drops on Disney Plus.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, they didn't announce that they were putting on Disney Plus straight away. Probably because they were like, okay, let's see how this does. Ah, crap, it's got no legs.
Yeah.
So we may live in a world, and this is not a world I expected to see, where Top Gun might hit $1 billion and Doctor Strange might not.
Yeah. I will say the one fear I have about Top Gun doing so well is that other studios are going to be like, oh, what other long forgotten movie that was really popular can we do a sequel to? And
you're right.
Like, oh no,
because they always learn the wrong lesson.
Yeah, and the lesson that needs to be learned from Top Gun Maverick is they made a great movie, or at least from what I hear, they made a great movie, and they brought the original star back, and not only that, they didn't mess around with his character at all.
Right, he was not Jake Gunn.
Yes.
To quote the old Jake Skywalker thing.
Yeah, yes, or Jake Kenobi.
Yeah. I don't have the time to watch shows I like most of the time. I am not watching Kenobi from everything I've heard.
I may give it a watch just to see how bad it is.
It can be your thing of the week one week.
Yeah. All right. So
the bar is so low for movies nowadays that it won't be hard to create a masterpiece, says D Rhino.
that is very true.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's I think what the thing that's funny to me is that you overthink it, writers, or you either overthink it or you underthink it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can just tell a straightforward adventure story. People will like those.
Yeah.
You don't have to have like a huge twist or like to subvert expectations. Subverting expectations is like it's the joke, or it's the movie equivalent of knock knock, who's there? Banana who? Orange, what? Aren't you glad I didn't say banana? It's like a knock knock joke of storytelling, because it's just like about setting up an expectation and breaking it. It's like but you gave us this character who was going to rebuild the Jedi, or you gave us this Doctor Strange who's like the Sorcerer Supreme. From what I hear, he's never the Sorcerer Supreme.
No, they explained it in Spider-Man: No Way Home, because
I still need to see that.
Yeah, that movie's actually good. I need to rewatch it, but they explained that because he got snapped out for 5 years, he lost his title as Sorcerer Supreme. Yeah, the Sorcerer Supreme's Wong.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, why was the Sorcerer Supreme off fighting Abomination randomly during the middle of Shang-Chi?
Shang-Chi? I don't know.
Yeah. Like, he should have bigger jobs to do.
Yeah. Why do people give Disney their time? We all know their.
Well, this is actually showing is that fewer people are giving it their time.
Yeah, I think people are. I think more and more people are starting to catch on.
Yeah. You can't actually like the whole subverting expectations thing. The whole Marvel Cinematic Universe was built on, oh man, this Thanos guy at the end of Avengers, he's awesome. I can't wait to see him show up. And then he showed up, and it was pretty good.
Yeah,
but better in Infinity War than in Endgame, in my opinion. But still like a good performance, and he was a big threat, so they paid it off.
Yeah. And the MCU has not been the same since.
Nope. Speaking of paying off,
yes,
the big news story that we were about to talk about before we had our guest on last week.
Right.
A book by the way go by Edwin Acevedo's comic book, The Ace.
Yes. Yeah, cool dude, cool comic book.
Yeah.
Yep.
In what was legitimately a surprise to me, Johnny Depp mostly won his case against Amber Heard, which that's had an interesting and complex history. Like, think about all the channels like that Umbrella guy, or like who was actually mentioned repeatedly in the trial.
Yeah.
Which boy was that surreal when I was watching clips and his name came up.
Yeah. Like, what?
I am amazed that he has not been completely doxxed by this point, or he probably hasn't. I just haven't.
I think he has. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
So there was a level where I was not expecting any sort of victory for him, just because he was trying to prove the case wasn't about proving that Amber Heard was abusive. The case was about, did she defame him, and that is so hard to prove for public figures.
Yeah. The burden of proof is very high, and and after what happened with because he had an unsuccessful case in England, although from what I hear there were some shenanigans going on with that trial.
Yes,
but yeah, I mean, I was a little surprised as well that it turned out the way it did, but I'll be honest, I'm happy it turned out the way it did. Ever since this whole thing blew up, whenever this was, like, this was what 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Yeah, I admit that I had tuned it out until the trial actually started, because there were so many channels where half their stuff was Amber Heard destroyed by judge, Amber Heard blown out.
Yeah. I was kind of the same way. Like, kind of one of the reasons why we haven't talked about this until now is because it was talked about everywhere, and so we just kind of wanted to wait for it to all come to an end before we gave our 2 cents. But I remember when the audio got leaked of where they were arguing, and she admitted to hitting him.
It's like, I didn't punch you, I hit you.
Yeah.
It's like there's not a difference. I'm sorry.
There's no difference. And also too, when she said that she said, well, I can't promise that I won't do it again. Like,
yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
You're a horrible human being.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
Now, of course, the interesting backlash has been that, this is the end of Me Too. You've put women back in the dark. Where abuse, like, okay, look, we've put liars back in the dark. Hopefully,
yes. Yeah, yeah, and it is interesting to see how the various reactions to people. Yeah, exactly. Believe all women, right? Yeah, I think that took a huge hit, and in my opinion, rightfully so, because you shouldn't just believe anybody right off the bat based on
Right. You
you
take them
know,
you take them seriously, but you verify.
right. Yeah. Yeah, um, and it's interesting to see how the people in both camps are were taken, especially the people who were more on Amber's side, and just how they're spinning it and how they're you know the things they've been saying is just like, okay, you're completely you're living in your own little bubble, you're living in your own little space, and you really don't know what's going on outside of it.
Yeah, like who are you going to believe? Your lying eyes or us? Because I was listening to chunks of that testimony, and it seemed like every one of her experts was a complete idiot. Honestly,
Yes.
at least the ones that I saw got destroyed on cross completely.
Mhm. Yeah, and I remember watching. It was Andy Signor who on Popcorn Planet. He's another guy who's covering this trials extensively. I watched a clip of him where Amber Heard was on the stand and her lawyer was doing the questioning, and it was like every single time her lawyer asked her a question, Johnny Depp's lawyer would go, objection, 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 objection.
Yeah. Well, and there was and I've listened to the closing arguments. Um, so it's generally seen apparently as bad form to object during a closing argument.
Mhm.
The fact that Amber's lawyers during that closing argument kept mischaracterizing their own witnesses' testimony, and Johnny's lawyers kept winning the appeals during the closing arguments.
Yeah.
That's awful. And
Yes.
now the best summary or the best thing I had is don't say believe all women. It's punish all crimes.
Mhm. Yes.
You degender it, and you also go like, okay, if you have an accusation, have a way to back it up.
Yeah.
I thought the biggest rhetorical thing was it wasn't a Me Too thing because there was nobody else. All of his previous exes came out of the woodwork to say, "Oh, yeah, he never shoved me down anything. He was never abusive. What are you talking about?" Kate
Yeah.
Moss of all people came out of nowhere, just go, "Yeah, I fell down the stairs and he came to help me.
Yeah.
He did not shove me."
Yeah. Yeah. I remember like his ex-wife came out and he's like he never laid a hand on me, and I
Yeah,
think Winona Ryder said the same thing when they dated back in the '80s, and she's like, he never did anything to me.
yep. And then what it turned into is Heard, and this is where she got taken apart, and they call it impeaching a witness, which is basically it's not like a political impeachment. It's like you basically take a witness and you make them completely uncredible.
Hmm.
That was done to her multiple times. Like, basically, okay, so every single other person came up here and committed complete perjury because they love Johnny so much. So
Yeah.
every single other person is lying except you.
Yeah. 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 I don't think so. And D Rhino says something brings up a really valid point here. I hope a lot more male victims take a stance against their abusers. This is what needs to happen, not only in our country but in Western civilization as a whole. And I agree. Male survivors. Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
For a lot of men who've been in relationships like Johnny, who are like Johnny, who've been through, things like this, it's very tough because, no one, most of the time, no, you're not believed, and
Mhm.
and more often than not, you're the one who's actually, like John, and with Johnny's case, he was the one who was accused of abuse, and it's, hopefully this, we often see like cultural tipping points or cultural shifts, And I kind of hope that this trial and the outcome of it is one of those shifts, and
Yep.
that it does help more people.
It's also kind of like the Rittenhouse one where all people being able to stream it and hear the evidence themselves and see, because someone was pointing out that even Amber Heard's victims, trash experts, if you just wrote out what they said, you could structure things to make them sound good and compelling.
Mhm.
When in fact, this goof doesn't know that Marlon Brando is dead,
Yeah.
or at least he doesn't know that actors memorize their lines.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
on a slightly lighter note, before we shift topics,
Mhm.
Johnny Depp's legal team eased nerves with Monopoly games as they awaited verdict in case against Amber Heard. How stressful is a trial that Monopoly of all games is relaxing by comparison?
Well, yeah, it's that actually doesn't surprise me. Yeah, it's being a lawyer is not a fun job.
No.
Yeah.
Speaking of not a fun job, let's talk about the Black Adam trailer.
Yes, and we would play the trailer here, but the last time we did a live trailer reaction, YouTube throttled the video.
Yes.
So we don't want to go through that again. So we'll just give our reaction.
Yes. Speaking of which, not a lot of people saw last week's episode. If you would like to go back and watch us talk with the process of making a comic book with Edwin Zaces, that's episode 7.
Yes.
But so on a scale of 1 to 5, how excited are you for Black Adam?
1.
-3, which is cheating, but still.
Yeah. I have a hard time finding a reason to care.
Well, I mean, okay, so Black Adam is a villain of Shazam / the real Captain Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
He has never been super prominent in the comics, though. The Rock has been attached to play him for like 15 years at this point. So DC has been trying to slowly make him more of an anti-hero, make him a bit more prominent, but he's a pretty minor character on the whole. I think they mostly picked him because it's a property they owned and that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson could pull off convincingly.
Yeah. Yeah, there aren't very many I'm trying to think if there are any other superheroes he could play convincingly, and I can't really think of too many.
The Rock is not known for his range.
No.
You do have the thing where historically most heroes were Caucasian, so it's like you couldn't slip him into a Batman suit or a Superman suit very easily.
Right.
But Black Adam being kind of Middle Eastern-esque, fake country, whatever, it kind of fits a bit better.
Mm-hmm. But, the films are not for me, but at least WB listened to the long time begging of people to let The Rock play. Yeah.
Like this has been in the cards for a long time. It's just that I think that it's one of those things where WB's been through so much upheaval the last 20 years. They merged with AOL, then they split up, and then once they realized that AOL was a shadow, and then WB was its own thing. Then AT&T bought it. Then AT&T unbought it, and they had their mainline superhero films kind of flounder around. So this is a project that. This is a project that you definitely is like low priority.
Yeah, it's the start of the development and then the actual making of this movie sort of reminds me of Deadpool in a way, because Deadpool kind of went through the same course of its life, where it started. It started out where Ryan Reynolds is playing him in X-Men Origins, and
he kind of played him like proto Deadpool in Blade 3, just not by the same name.
Yeah, and so when they saw him in those, saw them in that, they're like, oh, let's do a Deadpool movie, and it took like what was it, what, like
15?
No, it was like
10?
8, no, 7, 8 years, something like that. Yeah, before they finally made a Deadpool movie.
Right. It was a long, twisted road. Except that, like, Deadpool has this immediate cred with geeks that Black Adam. Like, I don't even know anybody who's a fan of Shazam. When I say fan, I don't mean, oh, I've heard of that. I mean, like, actually buys Shazam comic books and.
Yeah, 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 same here. Like I will say, have you seen Shazam, the movie?
Yes, that was a good movie.
It was all right. Yeah, I watched it. I've only watched it once, and I thought it was okay. It might be a movie I have to go back and watch it again.
I would say I've heard the description. It's the most Marvel movie of the DC movies, which is very accurate.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, because it had a nice blend of humor and
Yeah,
yeah,
but it wasn't like earth shattering.
Yeah, yeah. But this movie, I mean, you've also got like, what was weird is you got Pierce Brosnan playing Dr. Fate.
Oh.
Yeah, and then Atom Smasher. I think I saw Atom Smasher in there.
Yeah, and this is the only way we're ever going to get a Hawkman movie because nobody cares about Hawkman. I liked Robert Venditt's run on Hawkman, but I can't be arsed to finish it up.
Yeah.
Like, Hawkman is a cool character, but like in small doses.
Yeah, yeah. I'll be honest. I really don't know. I don't know much about Hawkman. Or
he is a weird, convoluted thing that if you want to, like, I can strongly recommend the first 2 volumes of Robert Venditti's run on Hawkman that he did a few years back. Because it's like it's basically he tied together all these weird elements of this thing. Because like, oh, he's an alien. Oh, but he's also an ancient Egyptian who's reincarnated. He's both.
Yeah, yeah, and then like the only thing I know about him, like the little I know about him was from Justice League, because like Hawk Girl was in Justice League.
Right. There's a reason that they replaced him with her for Justice League, and nobody complained. In fact, most people liked her better.
Yeah. Although interesting little factoid, like the one the season finale, I think was it the first or second season? I think it was the first season when the Thanagarians take over.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually supposed to be Hawkman who was leading the Thanagarians.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but then they're like, oh, we can't have him be a bad guy, so they replace him with something like him, generic Hawkman. Yeah.
And they actually brought him in for an interesting episode.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching the commentary on that. And the writers were actually split on whether he was just insane or whether he had actually been reincarnated.
Yeah. Yeah, and what's his name? James Remar did the voice of Hawkman. But yeah, but getting back to Black Adam,
oh, right, this movie is about him, isn't he?
Yeah, this movie's about Black Adam. Yeah, I don't know. This one I might watch. I may wait for the HBO Max and watch it there.
I can't see this movie being too big.
I don't think it will. I don't think it will be. Yeah.
They could barely get a lot of people to go see Batman in theaters. So I doubt this will be 3 hours long.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be around the 2-hour mark.
Yeah, I mean it's The Rock. People like The Rock, but they don't usually go to The Rock for just The Rock. He usually has to be in an ensemble like in Jumanji or Fast and Furious. So
yeah, insane or reincarnated reminds me of Father something guy from.
Yeah. You can hear the enthusiasm in her voice about Black Adam. I don't. In fact, I may have never actually read a comic with Black Adam in it. It's weird. Actually, it would have been more interesting if they'd had a Shazam movie with him as the villain instead of trying to make him an anti-hero.
Yeah. Well, they're making him an anti-hero because of The Rock.
Right. But I think it's the same problem you have with a lot of Sylvester Stallone things. Like when they made him into Judge Dredd, Sylvester was like, "Well, I can't be too bad. I need to see my you need to see my face.
Yeah.
That's my awful Stallone impersonation.
Yeah, they gotta see my
this is my face.
Yeah, you know.
I can't be. You can't be ambiguous. He's got to be a good guy.
Yeah, I am the law.
I'm Lua.
Law.
But yeah, I think it's the same problem. Is that he wouldn't play a villain, or they wouldn't cast him as a villain. I don't know which.
Yeah, either one.
Speaking of villains, man, the transitions just write themselves today.
Oh yes, they do.
Ezra Miller. Speaking of memes that won't die like Morbius.
Yeah, jeez.
I was saying during the early part of the show, and I forget if we mentioned this earlier. Now I understand how Clownfish TV can make a billion videos that are basically the same video, because the same stuff keeps happening over and over again.
Yes. Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, oh God, yeah. This person cannot stay out of trouble.
Yes. Now I actually, what brought this to my attention here was actually a clip from our old buddies at Twitter. Now I want you to know something. Ezra Miller. Allegations have surfaced against actor Ezra Miller, claiming that he provided a minor with alcohol, marijuana, and LSD. Interesting how Ezra is they them when he's good, but
Yes.
but loses his pronouns when he's bad.
Yeah. Although that could easily be a typo.
Yeah, it could be a typo. It could be somebody who wasn't aware who wrote the headline.
Mhm.
But still, it just still kind of amused me. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
so although Hollywood, Huffington Post, and other places kept up with it.
Yeah.
Basically, it's apparently somebody he met when they were 12 at I think it was like the Standing Rock Indian Reservation. So I don't know if it was during those protests or
It might have been, yeah.
what was going on there, but apparently Ezra stayed in contact with this woman or this young girl, and it's a little bit of groomy, shall we say?
Mm-hmm.
Drugs and
Yeah.
Converted her to. I shouldn't. Basically, the person now who's now 18 is like, hey, I became a communist all my own, and he's my queer comrade.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I do got to wonder, okay, parents, where were you like all the years before
Mm-hmm.
they were before they were 18? So now it's just like, and honestly, like I used to be a school teacher. I can't imagine wanting to spend any time with a 12-year-old for non-nefarious purposes.
Yeah.
Like teenagers at that transitional age are like awful. If they're yours, you have to put up with them. If they're in your family, you have to put up with them. But I can't imagine wanting to hang out with anybody that age voluntarily.
Yeah, it's a little well, not a little, it's more than a little bizarre. And yeah, it's if they are, then it's not for innocent reasons.
Yeah. The Timcast website actually had a good summary. When Ezra Miller is not choke slamming a fan outside a bar in Iceland or threatening the lives of a random Ku Klux Klan chapter, the Flash actor is on a rampage of scandals in Hawaii.
Yeah, this is strike 3.
Now this is like strike. Remember we were talking about like the police were involved 10 different occasions with Ezra.
Right.
This is like strike 20.
Yeah, that's right.
If Ezra was not like if Ezra's next movie for Warner Brothers was like a cameo in a Batman movie, oh man, they'd have the guy from the TV show in there so fast.
Oh yeah.
But Ezra's in so much of that movie, that this Flash movie, that you could, what I've heard about it, you could maybe remove one of the versions of the Flash that he plays. Oh, yeah, it's a multiverse, so Ezra's playing multiple versions of Barry Allen.
Yeah.
So it's like the worst possible scenario.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're stuck. They have to release that movie,
or they have to kill the movie and just accept the huge costs. Which, boy, would that tank their stock?
Yeah, that would tank the stock, and just I would say I'll absolutely kill that. Just devastate those studio. I mean, that's you make make a $300 million movie or however much that movie cost, and then you don't release it. Ooh.
Yeah, like it's an impossible scenario to be in. So I do not envy Zaslav at all. Plus, on top of apparently Amber Heard's role in Aquaman 2 is rumored to be bigger than we were led to believe. I was like, man, they just cannot catch a break.
No.
Amber could conceivably be removed. Ezra is too vital.
Yeah. Yeah, they couldn't. Yeah, they'd have to. They'd have to make a whole new movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that would be complicated.
Yeah. But yeah, it's. I mean, it's just Yeah, I don't envy Warner Brothers at all, and
nope.
They really they're really between a rock and a hard place with this, and they hopefully I don't know. They made their bed.
Makes me glad I don't own the stock.
Yes. Well, they made their bed, and now they got to sleep in it.
Yep. But I have to imagine that Ezra's career is over.
Oh, it is
dead as Amber's.
Oh yeah. Oh, it is. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I can't imagine anyone would want to hire them for anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and D. Rhino, send them to Arkham.
No. Everyone always breaks out of Arkham. Get him. Send Ezra to Blackgate.
Oh yes, yeah. There you go.
Yeah. So to end on a lighter note, it's time for our favorite game show. Which light novel is real?
Yes.
Which light novel is fake? So, per the rules of our game, I randomly went to the Amazon section for upcoming Japanese light novels. Some are isekai, some are not. And I picked out 2, and then I created a random third title. And it's up to you, Daniel, and the people at home to decide which one is the fake.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Failure Frame. I became the strongest and annihilated everything with low-level spells. Failure Frame. I became the strongest and annihilated everything with low-level spells.
Okay.
Number 2. I got a cheat skill in another world and became unrivaled in the real world too. I got a cheat skill in another world and became unrivaled in the real world too. Third option. I went back in time, changed the past, and now I'm married to a velociraptor. I went back in time, changed the past, and now I'm married to a velociraptor.
Oh, man. Okay, everybody. Which one do you think is fake?
Yep, again, is it Failure Frame? I became the strongest and annihilated everything with low-level spells. Is it I got a cheat skill in another world and became unrivaled in the real world too? Or is it I went back in time, changed the past, and now I'm married to a velociraptor?
Okay, D. Rhino thinks the first
Number one is the fake.
Yeah, he thinks that one's the fake. I'm gonna say the third one, the velociraptor one's fake.
All right, Daniel, you won. Yeah. See, I realized in retrospect that I like dinosaurs, and I'm interested in that because of last week's thing of the week.
Yeah.
But also, I would never voluntarily use the phrase cheat skill.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I believe this is the first one. We've done a couple of these. I believe this is the first one that Daniel's won. So round of applause for Daniel.
Thank you.
I'll have to up my weeb game next time.
Yes.
For those of you who played at home, I enjoy doing this. So as long as you keep playing along, I'll keep making them.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we've come to the end of our show. DB, any final thoughts?
Yes, go pick up Angels Awakening Second Chance thing. It's actually really close to funding. We're just $140 off.
Yeah. Yeah. Very close.
And the comics
And
mostly already exist, so no
yeah,
risk.
yeah, no risk. And if you are so inclined, if you haven't already, pick up some copies of Magpie Wizard
Mhm.
on Amazon. So
Yep, but you know his thing takes priority.
yeah,
It's limited. We have 2 weeks.
yes. All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching. We appreciate it. Smash that like. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring the bell for notifications. And
All that good stuff.
all that good stuff, and we'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.
More about everyone.
The life of a spy isn't as glamorous as I thought. But it isn't dull.